Hey guys, Dr. Childs here. Today we're going to be talking about thyroid time wasters. In other words, we're going to be talking about things that you should be avoiding if you have thyroid problems, because these are things which are going to take up your time and you're not going to have anything to show for them once you're done. So if you don't know me, I'm Dr. Childs. I'm an internist. I specialize in treating patients with thyroid problems, helping people with hormone imbalances, and of course helping people lose weight. But today we're talking about the thyroid. And as I mentioned before, we're going to be talking about thyroid time wasters. These are things that you should be avoiding. And many of you are probably doing some of these things. And the reason I have come up with this list is because I've treated a lot of thyroid patients. I see a lot of their questions, and I see a lot of patterns that come up over and over again. So I want to address these for you guys here. So number one is checking your labs too frequently. This can end up wasting a lot of time if you are a thyroid patient, because thyroid function in your body does not change as rapidly as other systems and other hormones in your body. In other words, it takes about 6 weeks when you make a change in your thyroid medication or the supplements you take for those changes to be manifested in your thyroid labs. So if you are somebody who, let's say, starts a new medication and you're like, I want to see what's happening. I'm really anxious. I'm not feeling better. I've been taking it for a little bit of time. I want to know if this is working for me. And you ask your doctor, hey, can I get my lab checked? And they're like, and if they don't know any better, they might say, yeah, sure. But if it's only been 2 or 3 weeks, those lab tests are completely unhelpful. They're not going to give you any actionable information. So ordering your lab tests more frequently than let's say 6, 4 to 6, depending on what you're looking at. But 6 generally is just totally a waste of time. Okay, so the way that thyroid hormone works in your body whenever you're adjusting it is that thyroid hormone has to get inside of your cell, inside of the nucleus. It targets something called a nuclear receptor, and it changes the DNA that kind of comes out, right? So it changes genetic transcription. And this process is not instant, okay? It takes a while, and that's why it takes about 6 weeks. And by the way, this is true whether you're taking supplements that are affecting your thyroid, whether you're taking thyroid medication like levothyroxine, Synthroid, Armour Thyroid, whatever, okay? It doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing that you hope has an impact on your thyroid, you need to give it about 6 weeks to see the difference, to see that difference be manifested in your labs. Ordering them more frequently than that is just a complete waste of time. So that's number one. Number two, this is a really big one, by the way, staying with your current doctor for too long. I can't tell you the number of patients that I've seen that are with doctors that are just unwilling to help them, right? These are doctors that are not willing to change how they think about the thyroid. These are doctors that aren't willing to change the medications that they're prescribing to their patients despite them feeling poorly. These aren't doctors that are willing to add new tests to whatever they're currently testing, etc. But I have patients who, despite that, will be with doctors for years. In fact, we have studies that show that the average length of time that a thyroid patient is with a thyroid doctor is 10 plus years. It's over 10 years. So why on earth would you spend a decade with somebody who just is simply not willing to work with you? Or for that matter, why would you trust somebody who hasn't been able to help you for 10 years? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm telling you, I see this happen all of the time. So if you are somebody who is staying with your doctor, that doctor is not helping you. And by helping you, I mean helping you to have more energy, helping you to lose weight, helping to balance your thyroid, then do not waste your time staying with that doctor. Find a second opinion. Look for somebody else. There are plenty of doctors out there who will do better. Even if they're not going to be the best, it'll be better than a doctor that's not willing to work with you at all. So remember, do not stay with your doctor for too long, especially if they're not helping you. Okay, number 3. This is another big one. Actually, these are all pretty big, but this one is definitely important. This is the things that you should not do, by the way. Copying what other thyroid patients are doing. And this is especially true for those patients who are following, Facebook groups or online forums or whatever it is, right? There are lots of communities of thyroid patients will get together and they often, share what they're doing and things like that. But there's a big problem with that. First of all, most of the patients who share what's working for them, they only have one person that they've tried it on, and that's themselves, right? And that doesn't that sort of method doesn't account for or won't be effective when you look at all of the hundreds of thousands and millions of thyroid patients that are out there. For instance, there's basically a degree of severity that thyroid patients can exist on, right, on a spectrum here. So we have mild over here and we have severe over here. Now, you'll have some people who will be on this mild end and they'll say, oh my gosh, I took zinc and iodine and my thyroid patient is solved, and that's what everyone needs to do. Everyone needs to take zinc and iodine and they'll be fixed. But the problem is, if you're way over here, that zinc and iodine will be beneficial probably, but it will pale in comparison to the effects that the person who was on the mild side experienced when they took them. So you can't take a one-size-fits-all to thyroid patients. Each thyroid patient is unique and they require personalized treatment. And so if you're looking around to try and find what other people have done, I think that's an okay thing to do in some instances, but by far the best thing to do is to find a doctor who can help guide that treatment specifically for you. Right? Like I said, in the absence of having anybody who's willing to work with you and being completely on your own, well, this is better than nothing, right? Seeing what worked for other people is better than nothing. But it's, for a lot of people, I think they're using it incorrectly and it's causing more harm than good. So stay away generally from what other people are doing unless they've treated, hundreds and hundreds of thyroid patients and have had continued results. If you're just going by what one person used on the internet, that's probably not a good thing to do. So I'd recommend against that, especially for most people if you're on those type of groups and whatnot. You can use them as a source of potential information, but take what you receive there with a grain of salt. That'd be my advice for you. Okay, number 4 is counting on your medication to do all of the work. So this happens a lot. Remember, your thyroid function in your body impacts almost every single cell in your body. So there's a tendency for a lot of patients to think, well, if I finally get on the right medication, if my doctor finally listens to me, finally increases my dose, or changes me from levothyroxine to Armour thyroid, or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, if they change your medication, then suddenly you will feel better. Now I'm here to tell you that I've done that. I've changed patients' medications from levothyroxine to Armour, from levothyroxine to T3 only. I've changed pretty much every combination that you can think about. And it rarely ever is the case that simply switching medication completely fixes the thyroid patient. Let me repeat that. It rarely ever is the case that changing the dose of the thyroid medication, the type that you're taking, etc., is enough to completely cure the thyroid patient, to completely eliminate all of their symptoms. That's just generally not how it works. What ends up happening to thyroid patients is, as thyroid function is low, it impacts negatively many other hormone systems. And it's these other hormone systems that continue to cause problems. So I'll give you one example of real quickly of what I'm talking about. So if your thyroid is low, it's going to affect your adrenals or your cortisol levels. And if your adrenal or cortisol levels become impacted, that's going to cause fatigue. Now, the problem is, if you take thyroid medication, even if it's the right dose, that's not going to cure your adrenal problem. You still have an adrenal problem. So you have to address that as well. So the thyroid causes all of these other problems, and these problems need to be addressed individually. So it cannot be the case that just switching your medication will fix all problems in your body. So you have to be aware of that. And that's why I say you really need a good doctor, somebody who can assess all these things, see how bad the damage is, to other systems and organs and hormone systems in your body. But let me just leave you with this thought as well. Generally, the longer you've had low thyroid function, the longer that it's left unaddressed in your body, the more damage you will have to these other systems. So if you catch thyroid disease early and you're really aggressive in terms of how you treat it, you'll have fewer problems that you need to deal with, these other hormone issues and cortisol issues, etc. But remember, your medication will simply not be enough to do all the work. And we could talk about this for a long time, by the way, because this also includes things like changing your diet, making sure you're using the right exercises, not too much, but not avoiding it completely. Those type of things also play a role as well, including stress, sleep, etc. So these are all really important things. Number 5 would be staying on supplements which are not helping you feel better. So this is kind of similar to number 2 here when I said staying with your current doctor too long. If the doctor's not helping you, why do it? Same with the supplements. If you're taking a bunch of supplements and you really don't know why you're taking them, and they really haven't improved how you're feeling symptomatically, then why are you taking them, right? But I see this happen all of the time, especially when I treat patients. Like when somebody will come to me and in our initial consultation, I'll say, hey, what are you taking? What supplements are you taking? Sometimes there's a list of 20 plus supplements. And I'm like, why are you taking this? What about this? What about this? And often they don't even have an answer or a reason as to why they're taking the supplements that they're taking. So when you get to that amount and that number of supplements, I would say 10 to 15 plus, they really start to work against each other. They're not super effective at that point. So don't continue to take supplements that aren't working. That actually is a mistake. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. Having said that, there are specific thyroid supplements that obviously can be effective. I make many of those. I think they're very effective. So it kind of depends on which supplements you're using. I'm not suggesting to completely avoid all supplements, but I am saying, be smart about the supplements you do take. And I should also point here, this, you guys aren't going to like this because it's a little bit of a curveball on this, but there are certain supplements that even even though you may not feel differently when taking them, they still are beneficial. So an example would be vitamin D. Now, vitamin D generally, like when you take vitamin D, generally for most people, it's not like suddenly your brain clears, your brain fog disappears, and you have more energy. That does happen sometimes, but that's in the minority of patients. But taking vitamin D is still very important if you have, let's say, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, because that improves your immune system. So again, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but generally don't stay on supplements that aren't working for you. That's kind of what I want to leave you with there. And then number 6, I know you're going to have a little bit of time reading this, so let me lift it up for you. And that would be living with thyroid symptoms like fatigue, depression, weight gain, etc. Basically forever. Just accepting that those symptoms are the new way of life for you. I do not want you to think that way. You do not, even though having a thyroid problem is hard, I'll concede that. I think thyroid patients, for the most part, they really, a lot of doctors don't really know how to treat the problem, so they're in a pickle, okay? They're in a tough situation. But you shouldn't accept the fate that you just have to live with your thyroid symptoms forever. If you address the kind of things that I'm talking about, the videos and the topics that you see on my channel, on my blog posts, etc., there are ways that you can completely eliminate your thyroid problems. And I want you to think about that, because the way that I see it is that a thyroid condition doesn't have to be a chronic, lifelong condition. It can be completely managed, and you can get as close to 100% as possible. Some people can become completely normal with the right thyroid medication, right supplements, right lifestyle changes, and other people, even if they can't get to 100%, can get all the way up to 90% to 95%. And I've had many patients where we take them from, let's say, 40%, just feeling terrible, not having energy, can't get up during the day, and we get them all the way up to the 90%. And I'll be honest with them. I'm like, I don't think what we'd have to do to get that last 5%. First of all, I don't know if it's possible. And second of all, I don't know if all the small little changes are worth it, because the risk is you could get worse. But just realize that you don't have to live with these symptoms, and nor should you. Right? That would just be a terrible way of living. So remember, there are things that you can do. Look at the other videos I have. Look at the blog posts. They will help you do these things. So in conclusion, these are 6 things that I'm dubbing thyroid time waster. These are things that you should not waste your time on. Don't spend any more time than you already have on these things, because you're not going to get any benefit from doing them. If you have experienced any of these, leave your comment below. I want to hear about it. Or you can go to a blog post that I have and leave your comment there, because I do want to hear about it. And if you haven't already, make sure that you download my free thyroid PDF resources. I have a ton of free resources that you can use. They're really helpful. If you like this sort of content and this sort of information, I think you'll really love those downloads. So you can get those in the comment section below as well. But that's all I have for you guys today, and otherwise I will see you in the next one.